Welcome to Glazed Over,
a podcast for business tips, painting tricks, and gabbing with friends.
We're your hosts, Amy Williams
and Christine Steele, and we're so glad you're here.
Hey, Christine.
Hi, Amy. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great today. I am so excited about this episode.
Same. We have Aksh Gupta on from Occasion, and he is here to talk to us about all things technology. I was telling him before we got started, we're really letting him drive the bus today on the topics because he is kind of the go-to in my mind for like everything new in this space for our industry and what we can look forward to. So hi, let's go ahead and bring him on in. Aksh, how are you?
Yes.
I am well. Hi, Amy. Hi, Christine. How are you guys?
We're hanging in there. No, we're doing great. We're even better now. Tell us a little bit about you and how long you've been with Occasion and what Occasion is for the 4 or 5 people who don't actually know. We'd love to just kind of get a little intro about you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the opportunity to be on this podcast with you guys. So I started the business in 2013. So I am the founder and call it CEO, call it president. I'm the guy where the buck stops. So we are a software company based out of Chicago. And our primary focus when we started the business was to build a scheduling software. We don't really know what target market we were going after. We just wanted to build a next generation scheduling software. It was not a year before COVID that we realized that we wanted to double down on the experiential segments, which is where PYOP pottery studios line up perfectly. Post-COVID, I truly believe that, and we're seeing it in data with sales too, that people want to get out and do stuff together. And so studios present nice experience for friends and families to get together, have fun, learn something new, especially do something with their hands, not just, sitting in front of a computer all day.
Right. Yeah. So, and tell us, this is a plugin. Is that what you would say? You're catching me on like a really, I wish I were more technologically sound here. So I might words that wrong, but so that's what it's considered. Okay. Occasion is the plugin for website for people to book in time.
So studios will create their class calendars, party calendars. On occasion, we would give them a little widget that they would put inside their website. And then customers, when they're finding about the business through social media or Google, the first thing they want to do is, what does this studio offer? They can see a beautiful calendar and be able to select time slots and book and pay. For the businesses, we provide a whole bunch of back-end technology to run their business using Occasion, rostering, refunds, management, marketing. So we provide the full stack. Our goal is for businesses to save a whole bunch of time and provide the customers the easiest way to spend money on your website. So
I find that if you give anybody like a small barrier to spend money with you, they just bounce. So that's so true. Are there any updates within Occasion that's happened over the past year or recently or whatever that we should know about?
Yeah, lots of new things. So studios that have been loyal users of Occasion for 8-9 years since we've been part of CCSA, I believe it was our 9th year anniversary at this past convention.
Wow.
We joined
Congratulations.
in 2015. Thank you. We made a whole bunch of updates to making Occasion on the back end simpler for the staff members and the businesses to use. Simple things like, hey, I want to just click one button and get the roster, making rostering easier. Just like time-saving things that take 10 clicks, let's just get it down to 1 click. And so that was primarily our focus, is to create new sets of designs primarily focused on time saving for the business users. On the customer side, we released a whole new checkout. So basically mimics what you find with shopping products. Like you find a product, you change the colors of the shirt, select the size, add to cart, and then go and check out. So before, people who are using Occasion will find it was just 1 page. Now we split that into 2 page with the idea that we will release shopping cart early next year so customers can sign up for multiple classes or events at the same time.
Wow.
So
that's nice.
That's been one of our biggest requests.
Yeah.
So we made that big change this year, finally.
That right there, I don't want to say that I might not use Occasion, but you might have just sold me on that, because that's one of the things that our customers say. I use my website and they're like, well, we just want to be able to click on multiple things and I have to keep going back through. Yeah. So I love that. Thank you for thinking of us.
Again, coming back to like making it so easy to spend money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. Like the customer is already buying something. Let's just give them a reason to buy one more thing.
So what do you see, kind of like being technology man, what do you see the future of technology for paint your own pottery studios looks like?
It's a very interesting question. And I think experiential industry, especially PYOPs, studios, can see what's happening in comparable industries. And that's what I look at as a benchmark is restaurants. What's happened in restaurants 5, 10 years ago is probably coming to our industry. It's funny that you asked me the question. I went back and looked at my classes that I have done with CCSA during the convention. 4 years ago, my thesis was that we would not just have Facebook and Instagram, we would have a proliferation of social media. And today, like depending on who your target audience is, you have to be on X if you're going after men or versus Instagram. So there's a whole bunch of more social media. I truly believe the next generation of improvements or focus in technology will be omni-channel. And what I mean by omni-channel is a customer doesn't really care what technology you're using. They just want to be able to click a button on the website and be able to come into the studio and not have separate experience. Oh, you have to give me your credit card again, or you have to, the gift card that you bought online doesn't work in person. You have to buy physical gift card and you have to do a whole bunch of, creates a disjointed experience for the customer.
Yeah.
And more importantly, it's more time consuming for the staff members. I'll give you one example that we worked with Square, the point of sale system, a year ago on was basically when a Square seller is selling a physical gift card, customers can redeem those gift cards on occasion during checkout.
Okay.
So there is only one source of truth, which is Square, how much balance is remaining. And it creates this omni-channel experience for the customer with the gift card. If I come in person, I can pay the studio fee on the point of sale system. If I book a summer camp, I can use that same gift card and clear out my balance or use it. So I kind of feel like that's the future. And there's a whole bunch of use cases along that where I'm super excited to see how technology continues to service these studio owners with that.
When you talk about seeing the future of PYOPs feeling like restaurants, what does that mean to you?
Really means where you're trying to expand your margins. Restaurants operate at 2-3% margins. Studio owners probably operate at much higher margins. How can you use technology to continue to drive efficiency and increase those margins? And to me, simple things like, hey, if you sell a gift card, give the customer a way to spend that money. Things like I want to add a couple of pieces to my studio reservations for studios who do online reservations for tables. Can I just add a couple of pieces? And does that inventory tie into my studio inventory? That's key, right? Like I don't want to add a piece and then find out that that piece is missing. During COVID, we saw a whole bunch of like, hey, book online and pick up in person. That was like amazing to see, but like, I don't know how good that service segment is now doing. But those were literally clicking buttons and something in the physical world changes. So those are some use cases that I think.
We notice that, let me say this delicately, we notice that the average age of the industry is getting younger. We're seeing people that have been in business for many years, like selling to their managers or kind of priming them to take over in the next like 5 years or so. How will a new generation of studio owners just think about this technology differently? Like, what do you see them doing?
Oh man, I'm so excited about this. So, I mean, like we've started to see studios change hands and managers take over. So, if you just like think about somebody who's younger, 30-year-old or 40-year-old, they are digital natives. If the website has to be seamless, and I'm not even just talking about a website, I'm specifically talking about the mobile experience. Like it's not just what it looks like on a bigger screen. It looks what does it look like on a smaller screen. I'll give you one funny coincidence. So the number of business owners who are requesting Apple Pay, Google Pay as a payment method for online bookings literally splits where 0 people over the age of 45 request that. People under the age of 45 all want to use Apple Pay, Google Pay. Younger people just understand what you just said, Christine, is like remove the barriers to pay. How can I just make it just a little bit easier for customers to spend that money? And we see that in our data, which is people don't have credit cards handy on their mobile phone. They just want to double tap and pay. So I'm talking about very, very specific case, but like social media use case, like younger people are more friendly with video production, right? Like recording stuff, editing stuff, and then posting it to Instagram Reels or TikTok. I think the media in which we operate digitally is also changing rather than like text-based websites.
Mm-hmm.
You're now seeing more visual websites with images and videos and stuff
Yep.
like that because the younger people are just more interested in that. I think younger people also have an expectation that things should just work technology-wise. Like, why does this not work? And like,
Mm-hmm.
we love those kinds of questions because then that gives us an opportunity to say, okay, let's solve those problems
Mm-hmm.
for the next generation of studio owners. I don't particularly say, and also like technology reduces your cost of operating a business. I imagine staff shortages are everywhere. People are
Yeah.
struggling with having good talent in their studios. I mean, if technology can take over some of that operational burden, it just increases margins, you know?
I want to say first off, speaking of technology, and you said 30 to 40 is young, and I thank you for that because I feel like my grandma whenever I ask my younger staff, how do I do this on whatever Instagram or something like that, and it's so funny. So I just want to say thank you for that because you made me feel a lot better by just even that phrase right there. So thank you. I'm gonna tell myself that all through the week that I'm still young and it's okay. So thank you.
Yeah.
And here I am to ruin your day a little bit, Christine,
It's
because
okay.
I am in that camp of like, it should work. And there's like a legitimacy that having like a website that has up-to-date information or like doesn't have any 404s on it, or even I do a lot of Instagram auditing for small businesses. And when they are constantly repeating, say, the same graphic or even the same photo,
Yeah.
it signals to me, you don't know how to do this. So therefore, your brick and mortar might not be as good and
Mhm.
I'm not saying that's fair, but that is what it signals out to a younger crowd.
100%. And that's a really good point, right? Like for an older generation, your physical space could be very clean and pristine. Doesn't
Mhm.
matter what your online presence is, but now it's the opposite. I mean, my wife and I are in Boston. We were trying to find a new restaurant. Even though we're standing outside the restaurant, my wife was looking up reviews on Google and Yelp. I'm like,
Yep.
let's just go in, right? Like, I'm okay
Yeah.
taking the chance.
Yeah.
But she's like, no, I want to see the 5-star reviews and thousands of
Hmm.
reviews. So I think the digital reality is what enables a younger generation to see how clean or what does the actual physical space or studio looks like. So,
Yeah, exactly.
great point.
Yeah. How does that make you feel, Christine? Do you feel
I
bullied
mean,
a little bit?
no, not at all, because I actually do the same thing. I know it sounds really silly, but when I go into a new place that I have no idea where anything is, the first thing I do is look it up, not only for if they're gluten-free, if it's a restaurant, but I also look at the parking because I will drive 7 blocks just so I don't have to parallel park. So I think that I mean I do. I agree with that statement absolutely. So I still feel young. I just maybe not as young.
I'm 41 years old, so I every birthday I say it's my 20th annual 21st birthday. So
I I
there you
appreciate
that.
that.
go.
Yeah, it's nicer when you're with somebody that's older, so that way then you can make fun of them. My boyfriend's turning 40 next year, and I've reminded him for the last 2 years. So, but I still feel young. With technology, it's so hard because it's always changing, and I think that's what's hard is that and especially as a PYOP studio owner, we are here for art and ceramics
Yeah.
and to share the love of art. And I didn't go to school for business. I should have now that I know where I'm at. But I think that there's so many different hats you have to wear, and it's hard. And technology just sounds scary. Even if you are in your 40s, if you're in your 50s, like it just is always changing. So it's nice that your company is changing with it. And you're also educating because you guys do a lot of videos and stuff to
Yeah.
teach this kind of stuff. I don't know if we want to talk about that too, but I appreciate that.
Sure.
I think that's very important, Christine, that you raised. I think when somebody's picking a technology partner, I just use that word because I think that we're not a vendor, we're literally a partner in hand. You have to look at like what their pace of innovation is. Like, are they updating the software or are they just like, hey, last update was 6 months ago? I
Right.
think the faster a company, and this is not a pitch for Occasion. I think every studio, even Occasion, when we buy technology from other companies, we look at how quickly are they updating their software, fixing bugs, adding new features. I think this is very important because you don't want to just buy the cheapest stuff off the shelf and that's not getting updated. Then you'll
Sure.
find yourself just outdated with technology again in a couple of years. And at this convention, again, I taught a class on omni-channel selling, which is how do you combine online physical stores together. A lot of businesses were stuck with Clover point of sale system. Not saying it's bad, but Clover's app ecosystem is like 10% of what Square's is or somebody else's. So you just won't get like all those apps that you can. And can you imagine buying an iPhone with like only
Right.
10 apps? Like it's not going to work. So
Yeah, it makes me kind of realize that the investment up front, is super important. It's like to kind of not to go the cheap route, I guess is the direct way to say that.
Want to make better business decisions backed by data? CCSA members get access to exclusive industry reports, surveys, and research that provide valuable insights into trends and customer behavior in the fine arts world. From pricing strategies to consumer preferences, CCSA gives you the information you need to stay competitive and thrive. Ready to use data to drive your success? Join the Contemporary Ceramic Studios Association and get access to this valuable resource. Learn more at www.ccsaonline.com.
Can we talk about something that's a little difficult, a little taboo, if you will? Can we talk
Sure.
about AI a little bit? I want to talk about how we should be using it in our industry. I want to talk about, hopefully I'll hear you say that we should be letting it do not 100% of the work, but just a fraction of the work. But yeah, can I get your take on AI and how we can be using it better?
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned images earlier. To me, like the easiest thing would be to upload images and start cleaning them up, or like asking AI to generate interesting images that maybe you don't have handy. A lot of companies, I think, studio owners use Canva for their artwork. Canva has AI tools now. I don't know if it's free or paid. We don't use
It's paid, and I will say it's pretty good. And most of us have
Yeah.
the paid version of the account, but
Good.
Yeah.
That's awesome. How do you use it, Amy?
they do a lot of like photo editing, which is really fun, but they will also do text editing. So you can type something out and you can choose like make it more formal, make it more fun, clean it up, check spelling. I just use Canva more than I do like Chat GPT, but I'm more prone to run to Canva for my social media captions than I am Chat GPT. You can
Nice.
Really?
tell when someone's overusing Chat GPT. There's like it's like a word salad almost, it doesn't quite make sense.
You have to edit it. You have to add the
Yeah.
human element afterwards for sure, especially for event descriptions and stuff, which we'll get to. I think the easiest application, like you said, is like image generation, whether you're using Canva or Chat GPT directly. I think it's worth spending the $20 a month extra to get
I
the
agree.
image generation piece. I've seen images of studios where table reservations are literally empty tables. And I'm like, guys, this is not going to sell. Like, show people having fun or just have AI generate like people. No, and AI now, a year later, has gotten much better where you don't have 20 fingers on one hand, right? Like do you remember that problem?
Yes.
Where
Or like the thumbs, if you look too close at the
exactly
thumbs, they are out of control.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I think the image generation piece is like very, very straightforward that I think every studio owner should try to start to use for cleaning up backgrounds and generating new images. There are new tools that are coming up where you can take an existing image and make it slightly movable. And what I mean, it's like a movie. And it's interesting because even if the customer blinks in the picture, that engages, or the person in the picture blinks, that engages me for 1 second extra. And that's all that matters, right? Like when you're online, just how can you retain me for that 1-2 seconds so I can just browse a couple more pictures. So I think that would be the next interesting tool that studio owners can use. I personally think descriptions. Customers want clean, clear descriptions about how much the event is, where is it, when is it, and just if it's private events like birthday parties, answer some FAQs. I've seen descriptions that are very short or descriptions that are very long. I think businesses want help to generate new content, just submit that and like have AI generate it, and then you can clean it up. If you have long descriptions, have AI rearrange that into like FAQs and then uploading that into your event checkout system. It's something that even we are adding those tools to our product to say, just click here and generate. And based on the event title, location, we'll just generate event descriptions. That's like first generation, and then we'll start to iterate on top of it. Thirdly, I think, again, staff is going to be a problem for a lot of businesses going forward. Employee wages, finding good and talented employees, retaining them. And AI can do a lot of the workflow on the back end. I mean, I'll just give you one quick example that I see. Cancellations, the whole cancellation flow. Oh, I want to cancel. Is it outside the cancellation window, inside the cancellation window? Should I give them a refund? Should I give them account credit? Or do you want to reschedule? All those things I think can get cleaned up by AI, where the customer can just go on the website, have a chatbot experience to say, hey, here's my order ID and I need to cancel. And AI can decide based on what the
Right.
business owner wants, how to handle that. That's like alone, I think it should save an hour, 2 hours per week per employee.
Sure.
And then you can just extrapolate that.
How do we go about like finding that resource? Like that feels a little intimidating to me. Do you have suggestions or things that we can simply Google to figure that out?
For AI, like
Yeah,
the
for like a
third piece,
chat box, basically. Like how would I get that?
the best tool in the market is ChatGPT. If you go to chatgpt.com, I think you can create a free account. I think they're giving one of the most advanced models for free now, so you don't even have to pay unless you want to get some images generated.
Yeah, I just upgraded, and it was only because after a certain amount of time or a certain amount of asks, they lock you out for like 6 hours or something.
I mean, how much is it now? Like $10?
It's
Or-
20 for what I got. I think maybe that's
Sure.
the
That's mine
lowest
too.
one. And it's worth
Yeah.
it. Like, I mean, but I did free for, what ChatGPT has been popular for over a year. I did the free service forever.
Did you have to log in for the free one?
Yes.
The reason why I asked that is because I really I put in my mission statement. I put
Mhm.
in a little bit about my studio. So that way then it kind of learned me. And that way then when I ask different questions, I'm like tailored to my mission or tailored to
Mhm.
this. And that really helps. I wasn't sure. I just paid for it because I thought you had to do that.
Yeah, something I
That's good to know.
recently, TikTok is one of my favorite places to go, not to get us off track for Chat GPT prompts. They recently served me a video that was like, ask Chat GPT what it knows about you. So I did it and it spit back this paragraph and it was like mostly accurate. I do some like social media work for other companies. So it was a little
Sure.
confused on exactly what I do. And I could just say, actually, that's not right. And I do this. And they were like, great, we got it, And I'm very nice to the robots. And I say, thank you so much.
Oh, me too. Me
Time.
too. I do that all the
It's-
time.
Very
I think it's
scared.
going to help build empathy
Totally.
in the society. No, that's amazing. I have not tried asking ChatGPT what
You should
what
try
it
it.
knows about me.
Yeah.
I'm scared to
I
find
know.
out. So.
Yeah. Some people are using it for therapy too. So there's the hack that we all need. We can't afford therapy anymore.
There you go.
Yeah, I think the automation aspect is really interesting and something that we as an industry need because it is often like, the owner's doing so much work or trying to staff can be so difficult. Are there any other automations that you can think of that would benefit us or even that like Occasion offers?
Yeah, so I think next year we're starting to build out what we used to have a couple of years ago, automatic publishing of events to Facebook, Instagram,
nice.
Google. Basically like saves you time rather than having an employee or somebody else you hired on the internet to copy and paste the same content over and over again. We experimented with customized email newsletters. So what that meant was like when you design an email and Constant Contact or MailChimp, that same email is going out to thousands of your customers. We started experimenting with personalized emails based on where the customer had clicked before checking out. Or if the customer didn't have many clicks, they just completed one checkout. What signal does that give us in terms of what else can we include? So no two newsletters looked alike. So it's very new. Again, like thinking about how this AI can personalize each person's experience. Again, what I envision is if you go 3 years out, I think your websites will be dynamic based on which customer is logging in or viewing that website. I think you're starting to see this with like bigger stores like Best Buy, Amazon. No two Amazon pages look alike. Like even if my wife and I go
That's
look
true.
at Amazon, there'll be two different storefronts. So I think those technologies will start to become democratized. And I think our roadmap is aligned to make sure that we continue to build along these, innovate along these lines. In terms of automation, I think every studio owner should ask their technology partner to be like, hey, what's your AI roadmap or what kind of automation can you? I think many businesses are still asking the question, at least when I talk to businesses that are wanting to demo with Occasion, is like, how does your booking software work? I think that part is we're past that point. I would not be able to tell what the difference between booking is with Placeful and Occasion or any of our competitors. What we try and think about is like the second generation, what comes after booking? How can we use that data and personalize those experiences for customers?
I think talking about it in terms of like the Amazon page is so important because it also reminds us that our industry is very against the algorithm, the capital A algorithm. It's against them and they don't like, but really it's here to help and it's here to like target, exactly what you are looking for. And there's not fear in that. That can only help us if done correctly on our end.
And I can understand the fear. I'm sorry.
Of
I
course.
really
Yeah.
do understand the fear. Like, again, the difference between younger people and not so young people would just be that like younger people are more confident with the stuff. I imagine If we have Gen Z owners in the next 5 to 10 years, that will be their basic requirement to say,
Right.
hey, how can I build personalized stores online? So
That's
Wow.
going to be so interesting.
So for the older generation, because clearly that wasn't me, we just already discussed that. What can you suggest? Because like if this is all sounding terrifying, if this is technology is like a terrible word and you are a studio owner, I don't want to say you're set in your ways because that would be terrible to tell someone, but if you're set in your ways and you want to add something, where would you even begin to do either learn what should I do? Like what's somebody if I am looking at my grandma who owns a pottery studio, she doesn't, but if she did, what would I suggest to her? Like, where can you start?
absolutely. That's a good question. I kind of feel like that generation is being omitted from technology, especially
Yeah.
because they're not native to it. So first things, if that were my grandma, I would work with her. If the goal is to like grow her business, but to make grandma feel comfortable to say, hey, let me just own this piece. You handle something else. I think me personally, I see that as the best combination where somebody who knows the business is combined with somebody who knows technology or wants to implement technology, whether that's temporary addition or permanent addition. I think that would be the grandma situation, personally,
Mm.
how I would handle it.
Yeah.
I would go and work for my grandma and say, let me help you find the best tool and implement this. I can see it's overwhelming. It's daunting to say, hey, how do we even get started? To me, I think every business owner that is looking at technology has to have one simple question. I continue to believe this is the right question. Is like, hey, when I'm shopping for this, when was the last updates that you released to the software? And how big is your technology team? Like, ask those simple questions. Let me try and think about it from studio owner's perspective. Like, if I walk into a studio owner and I ask the studio owner how many art teachers you have, and they're like 0, that makes me feel like, oh, is this really an art
Mhm.
pottery place? The same question applies to me, which is like, if somebody asks how many engineers do you have, how many updates have you done, and I say 0,
Right.
well, then are you really a technology company or not? It's a very simple question. We have very smart business owners who ask us that question when they are first demoing. Like, hey, when was the last couple of updates? Like you asked Amy at the beginning of the call, like what are some
Mhm.
things that are new in occasion, right?
Yeah.
Don't get asked that question often, but I hope really that that's the question that will elevate and say, hey, yeah, this works.
So outsourcing the hard stuff. I heard on a podcast one time that as a studio owner, as a business owner, our time is our currency. Like it's one of those things where to put money towards getting your time back. And
Mhm.
I think that's hard. Now, I don't know. Maybe you could agree with this. If you are struggling with the technology, I wouldn't hire your nephew who is 13 and does great on Roblox. But like, I think that finding somebody that is good at doing what we need is going to be the most successful thing, is because that's where you're going to put your money at. I don't know if you can agree with that too, like finding somebody that knows what they're doing instead of just tinkering.
Yeah, I think like, again, I think about this as a partnership. I think you're outsourcing, you use that word, and I like that word. You're outsourcing your tech stack to somebody who knows this. So they're a partner in your business. Are their incentives aligned with your studio's incentives? What happens if the software does not work for a day? Do they lose money? If they don't lose money, they're not your partner because you're losing
Exactly.
money.
Right.
If they're getting money because you paid them a monthly fee, regardless of like, that's just not a partnership. And I personally truly believe like we are responsible for every studio that works with their sales. That sale can be the difference between paying mortgage, rent, or paying for tuition, saving money, paying an employee.
Mhm.
So I really believe like we have to make sure as a business we're aligned with your incentives. And that's what I would say is studio owners should really think about when they're working with a technology partner.
And I think too, this can all be so intimidating, especially for someone that is set in their ways or that's been in business for 27 years and they've never had to really think about it this way. I think there is value in baby steps. I think there's value in meeting yourself where you are. I mean, I think about my parents, they refer to Facebook as the computer. So they call me and say, did you see what so and so put on the computer yesterday? So I have to start thinking about, if I want to bring them into my business or even like sell to them, I have to think about like what they can handle is not the nice way to say it, but like how they ingest information. Yeah, baby
Yeah.
steps, giving some grace, and chat GPT all the way.
Yeah.
Yeehaw, studio owners! Saddle up for success at the 2025 CCSA Annual Convention, happening September 5th through the 8th in Denton, Texas. This year, we're bringing cowboy country theme to the heart of the fired arts, and you won't want to miss it. Get ready for an action-packed event featuring over 35 industry classes designed to boost your business, an exhibit hall filled with the latest and greatest from top suppliers, plus social events where you can connect with fellow studio owners. And don't forget the grand finale, a boot scootin' gala and silent auction that'll have you dancing the night away. So dust off your cowboy boots and join us for a weekend of learning, networking, and good old Texas-sized fun. This is an exclusive event you can't afford to miss. Head to ccsaonline.com to reserve your spot at the 2025 CCSA Annual Convention, and we'll see y'all in Denton.
Did you ever try? I did this, and this was amazing. You're speaking of Chat GPT. I asked it to give me ideas for events, and in like November, and that was amazing. And I even said, "Can you make it for families of whatever?" And that was probably the best question that I've ever asked it. I actually planned out my whole summer just by doing that. Like, give me ideas that are tailored to bestie dates, that kind of stuff.
Not to say no. I'm not in a traditional PYOP
that's true.
setting. I sell finished wear mostly and then teach at conventions and stuff. So I don't often get to use it that way, but it's such a smart way to do that. And to shout out another PYOP person, Jen Meyer is like the queen of AI. She has Chat GPT and Gemini, which is Google's AI service. And she refers to them as Chat and Gem, and they're her best friends. And it's definitely like the longer you spend with these platforms and these softwares, like the more you get out of it. So I think it's a great idea, Christine.
The other interesting thing, the way simple things on the website, I literally submit a link to our website and say, find me ways to improve it. And it will give me like spelling corrections, grammatical errors, things that like you would otherwise pay a copywriter. You can even ask stuff like, hey, here's the link to my homepage. I'm a pottery studio in Washington, D.C. How would you improve it? And it will tell you like how to rearrange content on the blog, on the website. So
that's a great idea.
If we are using AI to like edit our images, do we have to disclose we're doing that?
I don't know, actually. Have you done that?
I only notice within Instagram, because I'm an Instagram girl through and through, if you use the app to do any kind of tweaking, even by changing the background a little bit, it will say at the top, where it would normally say like sponsored content, it would say like altered with AI or AI image or something.
So like it would say it's got a label at the top. Interesting. I wonder if that's just with editing images versus generation of images too.
It must be. I mean, I do think there is value in some eventually down the line having to disclose in some way. I see all the time, speaking of parents and Facebook, some things get shared where it's so clearly an AI image, but it's it's like just uncanny valley enough where you can't really tell if it's real, and they are taking it as like truth. So moving forward, I hope there is some sort of like resolution there, at least within the social media aspect. But it's genius to put people at your tables, because, I don't want to go to an empty store.
I mean, that's scary stuff, right? Like if you're on social media and you're scrolling through and like you don't know which one is altered with AI or generated with AI.
Yeah.
I wonder how that impacts people's ability to trust the content they see.
For me, I'm side-eyeing everything I see on Facebook. It hasn't necessarily made it over to Instagram yet for me, but I take everything on Facebook with a grain of salt.
I'm curious, like how that impacts like how business owners or like engagement wise, like if they've seen engagement drop or stay consistent, and what happens. Like
that is very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, it's something that we at Occasion we've been like thinking about, like what happens when there's more and more AI stuff on social media, like what happens to engagement. One scary study that I saw 2 years ago was with Gartner, and people can Google this. Gartner social media 50% drop. And if you just put that in Google, you'll find the article. It's a very simple study where Gartner, which is a research company, said consumers will stop using, 50% of consumers will stop using social media in 2 years, which was 2023. So they expect that to happen by 25. I mean, CCSA's financial survey said like Facebook and Instagram were the top two sources of traffic. So it's very weird time to figure out like how that changes and impact acquisition and like retention of customers. How do you educate them? So if that truly happens where consumers stop using social media because nothing they see is real.
I mean, how do we prime for that? Is it making an incredible website? Is it like an email list that you are not pissing off with bad emails?
Every business should start building their email list. Have a direct
Mhm.
communication channel with their customers is key. I don't know like how many people still open emails and click through. I imagine the numbers are down because the emails are going up, but
Yeah.
email is still the best performing sales channel available to small businesses, period.
Yeah.
Like no matter what you say, you send out an email to 10,000 people, you will get sales within 5 to 20 minutes after that. So
I know. And it's somehow like the hardest thing to do. We had a few episodes ago, we had Constant Contact come on. And by the end, Christine and I were both like, okay, all right, we'll do it. We'll send an email.
Yeah.
And it's true, you get it's that direct, like in their pocket. They want to hear from you, whereas you're kind of screaming into the void when it comes to social media.
I mean, with parties, right? Like if you have one birthday party, you're getting 20 kids,
Yeah.
20 different families. Try to figure out like how do you get their parents' email so you can
Right.
get them in your email list. I think having direct distribution to customers is going to become key, because if I'm fully reliant on Facebook and Instagram for marketing, I'm dealing with this uncertainty. And as a business owner, I don't want to deal with this risk that like what happens if engagement drops 50%
Yeah.
to my sales.
Yeah, even thinking about the younger generation, they don't use the internet the way that we do at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
They're a little more boundaried with it, which I'm surprised about. And
Yeah.
good for them. But
Yeah.
it's a scary thought.
I mean, lots of YouTube videos for the younger generation, lots
Yes.
of influencer stuff for them. That's how they hear and learn about it. That generation is still 10 years, 20 years away from spending money at these studios.
Right.
So I think we can start to worry about what happens to parents who are 30 years old and like are going
Yes.
to become of that age in the next 5 to 10 years. So I feel like emails are still the best thing that can protect us against this risk.
Mhm. Can I ask how you got into all this? Because you started in 2013. What were you doing before that? Now I'm just being nosy.
So I started in the tennis world. I was building a reservation
Oh.
software for booking tennis court times, and I was selling it to private tennis clubs, public courts like the Chicago Park District. Those sales cycles are so slow that it was
Mhm.
painful for me to be in those drudges for like years and years on end. I was like, well, maybe there is an opportunity to build a scheduling software for smaller businesses. And then in 2013, it's very difficult to picture this post-COVID. In 2013,
Right.
people were still relying on phones to
Yes.
book stuff online. I remember, man, like the first couple of years, it was literally like, you need online booking. And people are like, no, people are okay calling me. And now in
Not anymore.
2024,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, that's like the foundation stuff. Like everybody needs an online booking software to take reservations online. But that was not the case in 2013. So we
Right.
had a huge uphill battle. But I personally, like, I'm just super excited about technology. I've been in technology for 30 years. I was 14, 15 when I got my first computer, and I
Nice.
started to learn how to code on it and just build websites. And
Mhm.
I've always loved how you can, it's kind of like art, right? Like you're
Oh, of
just
course.
doing stuff on computer, and like people
Like
can
a
click these
puzzle.
buttons and like money
Yeah.
flows to businesses. So it's
Yeah.
just, it's a form of art that's amazing. And I'm very excited about where the industry is going. Some challenges ahead with AI, but also opportunities.
That's amazing.
So you gave your age, and now you're saying when you're coding at like 14. So how was your MySpace? Was it fabulous? Because
Mine
I
was
know,
really good.
yeah, mine was really good too. And let me
Yeah.
just tell you, that's all I can think of. I don't even understand where that knowledge went, but yeah.
It's still in there somewhere.
I remember, so I moved to, so I was born and raised in India, and I moved to the US in 2003. So I think I had a MySpace account for literally a year before Facebook came
Exactly.
to our
Okay.
university. So
Yeah.
so I didn't get a chance to be very creative, but I do remember having like my Linkin Park music on
Mhm.
it
Of
for a
course.
Yeah,
for a few
absolutely.
for a year or so. So it was
Yeah.
fun.
That's right. I wish we could go back there. Like just for like a week. Like take me back for just a second.
It was good entertainment. Yeah.
I wish I
Exactly.
could just open mine. That's all I want to see.
I know.
That's I don't even know. Yeah.
One day, I
That's
imagine
awesome.
I'll get to heaven and I'll say, okay, whoever's up there, I'm like, can you tell me everybody who has a crush on me or has had a crush on me? And can you get me into my MySpace? And they'll be
That's
like,
perfect.
that's all you want. Yeah.
That's
Wow.
awesome.
Well, I feel excited about kind of
Yeah.
where we're going technology wise. And I think that's better than being nervous. Is there any kind of like any closing statements you'd like to have about, what we can pay attention or should be paying attention to within the industry?
Find yourself a point of sale system that can start to enable omni-channel. That would be the first step that I think will unlock, forget AI, if that's not even on your horizon, that will happen in 3-4 years. I would say the first thing is to get a point of sale system that connects seamlessly to your booking software or whatever you're using. I think that would be a huge win for studio owners, if anything, that I would focus my energies on.
Yeah.
So all of the things that we've talked about today, just to do how many things does Occasion solve for us? Because I know there's a lot, so I want to just recap that before we...
Yeah, this is your pitch. You get to pitch.
Yeah, this is like I know you're doing the thing, so tell us what you're doing for us.
So Occasion solves with the first piece, which is the integration with your point of sale system. We unfortunately fortunately only work with Square as a point of sale system. They've been an amazing partner. I think some businesses have reservations about Square, but I recommend giving them your credit card statements, and they will give you a much better rate. We're not involved in that, but I think it's a much better point of sale system. My parents, when they had a store, I implemented Square in their point of business, and it was pretty phenomenal to work. To me, that's the piece that Occasion works on. It seamlessly connects their booking system to their point of sale system. You can pull a roster on the same screen. You can cancel reservations. You don't need to run 2 different screens anymore. You can do gift card redemption and sale. That's seamless. Just enables a lot more workflows rather than having multiple screens. I think the AI stuff, we are starting to work on experimental front, image generation, descriptions. Businesses that are using AI or Occasion today will see a way to click and generate an image or click and generate a description or clean up their description today. But there are still a runway of opportunities for us to work on in terms of that. The last piece, which is, I think now I'm starting to think about and get excited a little bit, is like what happens if social media usage drops. I have no answer, but like it is something that I want to make sure that we risk proof our users from that eventuality if that ever happens. I don't have a solution right now. So
right. It's incredibly comforting that you're paying attention to that. That's what I would like to see in a partner. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
And thank you for your time.
Yeah. Well, in CCSA members, we get a little, I don't remember what it is. I'm so sorry off of the top of my head. So we don't want to say any codes or anything like that because it's in your membership thing. But
everybody gets a free Occasion right now. I'm kidding. How
about this to all the listeners of the podcast?
There we go.
So we don't have setup fees for CCSA members. I'll go one step further, which is we'll waive our fees for the first 6 months after you sign up.
Nice.
So
we love to hear it.
And
so
we just mentioned
the podcast
this.
You just mentioned that you heard about it from the podcast, and
that's so kind. Thank you so much. Yeah, thanks for taking a bet on the industry because I think we're worth it.
Well, and I see all of these posts on Chatter, and you're there, like you're answering, and like you're very you're seen often. So I appreciate that as a business owner watching, thanks for being there for us.
Yeah.
Thanks to you for being our friend.
Right. How often do we get a connect or a direct line to the boss man? That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. I think of every business owner that uses Occasion as a friend, not as a customer. So I try to be there, be helpful as much as possible and learn from them too. There's a lot of learning for me to have too. So I appreciate the opportunity. Thanks for having me on the podcast.
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks.
Where can everybody find you in case they do need to find you?
So the website is occasion.app and my email is aksh@getoccasion.com.
Well, again, thank you so much for being here and talking us through this and reminding us that it doesn't have to be scary and that we can change and shift just like everything else is. And everyone at home, thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.
Glazed Over is brought to you by the CCSA, the Contemporary Ceramic Studios Association. Thank you to our moderators, Amy Williams and Christine Steele. Intro and outro music by Scott Lester. Executive production by Louise Blazucki. Learn more about the CCSA at ccsaonline.com.